All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the IML podcast. I'm Decker Pellinari. As you know, this week I'm sitting down with Lexi Porras, and we are going to be talking about what she's got going on in the lab. So, Lexi, why don't you take a second and introduce yourself to everybody?
Okay, well, I'm Lexi. I'm a senior this year at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I'm a design and visual communication major, which is all things graphic design, branding, logo making, packaging design. And I don't know anything else. What else? I like ceramics. And as like my studio courses, I'm a big ceramics person. Um, what else? I don't know. I have plants all over, so
Really? I love
got it.
plants.
Yeah.
We have like 40 plants, like give or take. We have
Okay,
so
I wish
many
I had
plants.
40 plants.
No,
Wish I had 40.
yeah.
No, I do.
Yeah, no, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, look, we have 3 plants now. Now we have 5 plants. Now we have 20 plants. How did this happen? Now we have 40 plants. Oh my God. So yeah, it's my girlfriend's a big proponent
No,
of that. We both it just got out of hand, but they're great. They're great to have around. It's something that
they're
keeps
so
you.
nice. They're all in my living room. I have like one in my room, but
Mhm.
started out from one big plant, and from
Mhm.
that big plant, I made like four others off of it.
Oh,
So
you
I'm like, oh, that's
propagated?
yeah.
Mhm.
And then maybe four or five, and then I just made an avocado plant.
I didn't even know
Yeah,
that was possible. Like
yes.
given
Like
the climate.
I didn't think so either. Okay, saw it on TikTok.
Oh, okay. That explains it.
And I was like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And so I did it.
Nice, nice,
And
nice.
yeah,
Okay, well, good. We already are off on a little tangent, so that's fun. You said you're a DVAC major? Is that what you said?
DVC.
DVC. Okay, yeah. There's an A and D. There's DAC in mine. DVC in yours. Okay. So,
Yeah.
with that, what digital platforms are you most familiar with? What do you use when you create? What do you like to use? What do you not like to use? What are your thoughts on stuff like that?
So school wise, we use the whole Adobe suite,
Hmm.
um, as well as like we have to take a course of like web design classes. So we're aware with like HTML, CSS, something like that,
Hmm.
CSS script. Familiar with that. Adobe platforms, I would say my favorite one is probably Illustrator and InDesign. A lot of people don't like InDesign, but I think like for my like organized brain, I
Uh huh.
love InDesign.
It's just the way that it works. Yeah.
And it's just they give you everything to have everything all nice and organized, and I'm like, it's just great. Photoshop's Photoshop. Any,
It's yeah, it's a
anytime
love hate relationship with Photoshop for me too. I'm Illustrator all the way for sure. So.
it's like Photoshop's like a love hate relationship. They come out with one update and you have to relearn the whole platform,
Hmm.
and it's um also learning After Effects and Premiere. That's new. I also use Procreate, so I draw more on my iPad and stuff like that.
Cool.
Um, I'd say that's about most like Procreate's more of the fun stuff that I do.
Okay.
That's about it.
So not so much in the 3D modeling field or anything. Do you stay more on the two-dimensional sphere of it all? It's
Yeah,
you're like the first person that I've talked to on the podcast that has actually been not into the whole 3D modeling thing. So it's kind of nice because when they talk about all that stuff, I'm like, oh, that's great, but that's
like I
completely left field for me. So
no, I've taken a course that taught me Unity and Blender,
okay,
and that was just something. If you were just mainly coding in it, you didn't like fully morph and create in it.
for sure.
3D is just hard,
Yeah,
and
it's not
I
easy
just
for sure.
props. And then like I think 3D is a big thing in the immersive media lab. So I'm like, oh, I don't really dabble in 3D. Like, is that okay? But
Hmm.
honestly, it's like that's just your realm. I don't want to get in the 3D realm.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like the people who choose to like seek that out and like have that be the main topics of their research. It's like they clearly have their ideals and like what they want to do is completely based around like this whole three-dimensional platform, and I don't think that's for everybody, and I think it's clear that that's not for everybody. So it's like it's a good thing that not everybody's diving into this 3D platform, because like we need people to still be doing stuff on the 2D sphere as well, because not
Yeah.
everything has to involve three-dimensional stuff. But it is insanely cool that we have so many people that are interested in the 3D platform, because I mean that's just kind of the direction that things are headed, you know. So, but
Yeah.
it's
And
insanely complex.
my major is mainly a lot of 2D, a lot of flat designs.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't dabble with the 3D. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the immersive media labs brought me into 3D stuff,
Sure.
but I still am just too scared of that.
Well, I don't blame you for that at all. It makes sense to me. So, all right. Well, so speaking of the lab, how did you become a member of the lab? What's your origin story coming into the lab?
So the lab found me.
Of course, as it does.
Yes, I took a course with Chris last summer, and that this was the Unity encoding XR course. And you know, just got Chris to like me with my humor, and I was just like, I was balancing, babysitting while doing this,
Fun
and
stuff.
I was the girl that was like holding a baby on my hip while doing class, and he would be like, Lexi, are you good? He's like, you can turn off your camera, dude. Like, you have to be down while you're babysitting. I'm like, no, she's fun. Like, so that was like the main of our conversations would just be about like how I was like babysitting and stuff like that. And then I saw that he was teaching the coding in XR. I needed a summer course. I was like, you know what? It fit.
Perfect.
And then he emailed me and he was like, Lexi, what are you doing this summer? Or what are you doing this spring? Fall, I guess. Yeah, spring, because I just joined. Like, what are you doing this spring? And I was like, nothing. He's like, I'm joining the immersive media lab. I was like, sure, throw me in.
Absolutely.
And needed a studio credit, so this has been my first semester. I've only been here for about a couple months.
Right on. Right
Came
on.
at the same time you did.
Sure.
So we were like the little newbies.
Cool. Well, yeah, and I think his courses are great segues into this platform, like, and into this lab and into this environment. Not only because of the course material, but just the way that he approaches stuff like this and makes you wanna learn about this type of stuff and engage with it. So it doesn't surprise me that people who have had him are in the lab, not only because he is like the founder of it and everything, but like it all just ties in so closely, and his classes are great. I had him for 118 and 212 as well, and he definitely changed the way that I looked at a lot of stuff creatively, and I think that it was kind of cool because he and I, the reason that I even got to be a part of all of this is because I don't even remember what sparked the conversation or what, because I hadn't had him in class for a year and a half maybe, and he shot me an email and said, hey, why don't we work together anymore? Kind of sucks that we don't. And I was like, yeah, I think so too. And he's like, well, you should come and be a part of the lab. We need somebody to do social media. And I was like, okay, sweet. And I needed 3 more, I only needed 1 credit. I needed 1 credit to fill out my gen eds or whatever. So I was just gonna take 1 like random BS class and just have it be done. And he's like, well, if you come and do this, like I can talk to the dean or talk to Mark Tasman rather, and see if he'll let you do this like as an internship for credit. And I was like, yes, let's do that for sure. So
100%.
yeah, all tied back in together, and it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. It was stressful at first, and now it's not so stressful. And since I found my stride and get to sit down and talk to people like this in this platform and in this format, it's just a blast. I just really like talking to everybody. So it's cool that it came out to happen this way for sure.
And I think you like really found it quickly, especially it probably didn't feel quickly for you, but I mean, you kind of were given a platform is like, do whatever you want. And that's the hardest,
Yeah.
is getting like a do whatever you want. It's the hardest thing to do. And I think, honestly, you figured it out pretty quickly. Some people, it takes a long time to figure out what to do if they have a fully open platform.
And that's the thing. I was entrusted with a lot, but given a lot of leeway. Like, I wasn't prompted to do things. I wasn't said, like, nobody said, here, like, this is your task. This is how to do it. Go do it. They said, this is your task.
Do whatever you want.
There you go. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll figure it out. So, but that's what I did. And, you know, first couple of weeks it was rough. And then once I was like, hey, how do you guys feel about a podcast? And Chris was like, yeah, yep. And so once that happened, ever since then, this has just been so much fun. I mean, this is a way to do it. It gives me an opportunity to learn about you guys and tell everybody, all the agents' stories. But not only that, have them be able to communicate it and like put a face on that research for people that are like interested in what's going on in the lab. And I think it's just the best way to do it.
Yeah, I also think it's fun for us because, like, we already document our process on our Spark pages, but, like, that's just verbal and visual, essentially. Like a sit down, like, I'm sure I'll probably look back at this in a couple years and be like, wow, I was a child. Like,
Yeah, right?
just look back and you're like, wow, I was so little, and, like, I was so scared.
Yep, I hear you there. Absolutely. And that's another cool thing, being able to, like, look back on stuff like this, because you'll totally be able to, so.
Yeah.
All right. So since we're talking about explaining people's research and so on and everything, why don't we move into your research a little bit, start discussing that. If you could title your research, if you had to give it a title, if you have a tagline or something, maybe the title of your Spark page or something, what would that be?
I think my title right now is a designer or something like that.
Okay.
And I think I just need to come to terms with being like, I still see myself as a student. I never see myself as like an actual designer because I'm like, oh, once I graduate, I'll be a designer. But it's like, you're a designer right now. The biggest things that I love are like typography and branding. And so when that came in, I was like, okay, I'm coming to the lab with like this sort of thing that I know that I love. But then also you're seeing people with 3D and you're like, those like don't connect.
Yeah.
And AR kind of got talked about and I was like, that can connect. So it turned into me exploring AR with no background at all in it. No idea what I was doing. And still have no idea what I'm doing.
Sure.
But mixing it with typography and AR and just like a type designer that also wants it to be an AR because it's interactive, and type's usually not interactive. It's usually just flat on a paper. So bringing it interactive is fun. I've seen a few branding places where they make their logo interactive on things, or like if you're promoting like I like think like if you're promoting a beer can and like your logo's on the beer can, but like the logo's popping out in AR, like that's cool to me. I don't know, stuff like that. Taking that type of idea and putting it into something that I can see my future self using.
Sure. So why don't you give like a brief description of like what you're hoping to achieve, or like what you're trying to achieve with your research currently, like the direction that it's headed right now.
Okay, the direction that's headed right now is, it's been since about my senior manifesto since the beginning, and I've been trying to create these like typographical quotes, and I want to make them put into real life with a video. And there's like a video about me, and then like the typography quotes are like still around me. So what I want to do with my research is just like learn more about like what it takes to make something in AR like actually look nice. Because like like exporting things into AR can like kind of make it look funky. I think my whole research is like, how can I make it look nice and like be interactive? Because I found out that I was designing way too flat. Like I was just designing flat because my brain is just
Yeah.
flat
Well, that's
design.
how you've been creating things the entire time.
Yeah, and so now this is a completely different realm where I'm learning like how do I design for an interactive type and also make it look nice
So
when
are you
it's
saying
on
when you're
camera.
saying like interactive and you're saying you were designing too flat? uh, What's the adverse? Like what you're designing too flat, so now I have to change what to design how. You know what I mean? Like I don't know
Yeah.
exactly if I'm phrasing that question very well, but like you said you were doing too flat. What do you got to change?
So essentially I was um grounding things, and that's when you just have like stuff in the background that can kind of just look flat. So just like one flat circle in the back with the type inside of it, that's just something more print, like sticker like.
Mm-hmm.
You would just print it out.
Yep.
I need to have it to where the type is like big and bulky, and I design very like thin and dainty.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to like completely change that, do a 180 with that, learn also how to make like big, bulky, beefy type look nice,
Okay.
and then have them more like spread out from one another so that they can move around.
All right.
So it's a big learning it's a big learning curve for me because it's completely different.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you are you needed to take yeah, like you basically need to relearn elements that you already have learned about um, like type, and like you were saying you were designing things elegantly and dainty beforehand, so you're just kind of switching gears to make it more accessible on an AR platform. And so with that, what do you hope to achieve within that AR platform? Because are
Um,
you looking at it from? I guess I'm just trying to understand under like on what platform this would be, like experienced by people. You know what I mean?
yeah, I get that. So essentially, like I'm thinking of how you can use like 3D photos and stuff like that, and as well as videos. Like
Okay.
there's one type artist who made a whole app with it. Like he put all like the backgrounds and the AR stuff into it, and all someone has to do is just type out what they want to say
Okay.
and use his already created his already created filters for that type of stuff to make it move around and stuff like that.
Right on.
I could have taken it the easy way and just bought the app for $1.99 and just made my whole project typing in it myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to like, learn the more in depth of that,
Okay.
of like the background of what he did versus just taking the easy way. I never have things easy for me.
Sure.
Um, and so essentially, I just want it to be a skill. Like I love learning a new skill, having a new skill being presented to the table, and thinking about it in a if I want to be branding for a company in the future, I want to know how I could have that skill advance someone's branding
Sure.
and make their whole brand look is more appealing in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You can have it be more interesting to look at, interesting to interact with if you're going to someone's website or something,
Yeah. No.
or just
I
I guess
definitely get that because I feel like if there's been products that I've been like on the fence about, and then when I go to do more research on them and I go to their website and their website really kicks ass, I'm like, okay, like this makes me feel better about it just because of the amount of like detail and attention that they put into like making this website look like this. And then there's been that adverse effect where I'm like on the fence about something, then I go and see their website and it's like an HTML doc with nothing on top of it, and that's it. And you're like, oh god, like it just makes you wonder like how much effort they're really putting into their product, if that's the amount of effort that they're putting into marketing their product. So
mm,
yeah, I think that that is a huge thing. And being a jams minor, it's something that I've focused on. So I can definitely see that being being an important step for companies to take as we move forward into a more XR based platform, like just overall, like in all media, I feel like that's kind of just where everything is headed, so it makes sense to continue down that path. So in that right, you're right on track, you're doing the right thing, probably ahead of the curve in a lot of senses for
Yeah.
some people, so that's really
Right.
cool. So what kind of
Yeah, in a
what
way,
go ahead,
thinking,
sorry.
sorry. I was just like thinking of the future. Like I know that XR, AR is going to be a lot more in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, why not think about it in a branding sense in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Even though branding will kind of be flat because we'll always have like products and stuff like that will need flat design.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how can that enhance like the flat design on the can or on the product?
Yeah, it's interesting because and that I think this all kind of moves forward into like when could that, because like you know how people, you know what, like the Neuralink thing that Elon Musk is talking about, like the chip putting into people's brains and everything. Well, he's got some crazy stuff that he's talking about. There's also people bringing up like Google contact lenses and stuff. Like
I have heard about that,
yeah,
and that's
like
just for me.
I know it's creepy. It sounds very Black Mirror to me. But if that's something that like takes off and people are like have direct access to an AR platform basically at all times, then that's something like what you're doing could in turn become like huge, like boom, basically, because if you have, say, a can of Coke or something, that if you don't have this contact lens in, it just looks like a can of Coke. But if you have this contact lens in, then you know it's got the design orbiting around the can or something, and or whatever type of product. So like that's something where I feel like what you're doing could be huge, and I don't know when this contact lens is supposed to come out, or if it's going to, or what's going on. But theoretically, that's just a thought of mine because I have heard of it, and I've seen stuff about that. That's where like my brain goes to when I think about what you're doing. So
Yeah, for me, like I safely can be like, oh, I'm perfectly fine with the glasses, like AR glasses. I'm like on a contact lens. I'm like,
just take them off.
I was like, I'm already putting plastic in my eye to like help me see, and you wanna add to that?
Yeah, I just
So that's always weirded me out because I'm like, contacts are already plastic. That's just weird to put in your eye, and then you want to make it like digital. No, thank you.
well, what? Yeah, and what does that entail? Like, it can't just be a piece of like they're obviously doing something to this. Like, how do, doesn't
I
compute? It doesn't compute.
and like contacts get old, so is this gonna get old?
Yeah, yeah.
And then what? Am
Is
I
it
going to
gonna
buy
be
a
like a
new one?
prescription? You know how you get like contacts sent to you? They're just gonna keep sending them to you for $120 a pack or something like that.
And like, what if you don't need contacts, but then they're like, but you do need these contacts.
If you want to see all this crazy stuff, then you're gonna need them.
Want to see this cool stuff? You're gonna need these. You already don't need them. You're gonna need them now.
Yeah, you might think you don't need them, but you're gonna need them. See, and that's
Or
just freaky.
is it like a LASIK thing? Are they gonna like install it in your eye like they do with LASIK? Well, LASIK like peels off your eye, but like, are they gonna put it in?
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Oh no, because think about like you got these contacts in and you're driving to work and all of a sudden an ad pops up on the right and you can't. You're like, oh god. See, that's what freaks me out about it is like every like what, because then people could like, what if people like hack that stuff? Like if you got your contact lens in, and then people hack your contact lens. That's awfully close to your brain. Yeah,
I always think of like doorbells getting hacked, and then like they're like talking to the kids inside the house, and I'm like,
oh
nope.
yeah.
And I'm like the contact lens like getting hacked, like what? It's too much for me. It's like too much for my brain to be like, we're gonna allow this, and like
It's freaky, right? It's freaky. But I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be awesome, and maybe it'll open up a lot of opportunities and doors for people like you to make some bitch in typography.
Yeah, shit. I'm gonna make the ad where the X doesn't pop up right away, so you have to wait
Oh
and
yeah,
stare
put
at
a
that
little
corner until
circle.
the X pops up, and then fine.
That's rude. But hey, at least it'll look good, right?
Yeah, I feel like I would just, if that ever had to come out, I don't think I could work for a company that like is trying to do the context because I just wouldn't support it.
Mm-mm.
So I'd be like, I can't do that. Watch me watch this 10, 20 years later being like, bitch, you're
Yeah,
designing for
from your
contacts right now.
from your office at Google, like, they use this as blackmail. They're like, yeah, you'll take that pay cut because we know what you said.
They're like, remember what you said 20 years ago on that podcast that you hated these? Yeah, we're not hiring you.
Now you have one in both eyes. And saving all your memories. Be a shame if you lost all of those memories, wouldn't it?
Could it take your memories?
I don't know, cause like, what if you had it? What if it could like record whatever you're seeing, and then you just like, and it just like shoots up to the cloud or something.
Oh my! Why can I see this happening?
Because it's literally an episode of Black Mirror. We're talking about like a real episode of Black Mirror right now. Yeah, well, that's like one thing that is a thing is I don't know if it's actually a contact or not, but it's something that they have in their eyes that they can like record everything that they see, and then they can relive their memories in the episode, like, or whatever is recorded. So
I feel like Black Mirror would be my type of show, but I feel like it'd get too wild in my head.
mm-hmm.
I'd go too far.
I had to put it down.
And it was just like, I've seen one where it was like, people can have ratings.
Oh,
and I was like, that's just why. People with the ratings, like the 4 stars or like the 5 stars.
Yes, that's so messed up. That's so messed up. And
it's like we still kind of have it because like you can see your like Uber rating score.
Yeah.
You can see your personal like score. And I'm like, wait, why am I 4.9?
Yeah, literally, I was like, really? There's no way. I give 5 stars to all my Uber drivers. There's no way that I should have
all 5 stars.
Yeah, for real. Oh, jeez. All right, hold on. Let's rein it back in. How did you? Well, first of all, what got you interested in digital art in the first place? Like, where did that all start up? Because I feel like that kind of lays groundwork for the direction that you head in your creative endeavors moving forward. So
okay, so I've always been into, I'm gonna start from like the beginning.
Yeah,
I was always into art as a kid. I would get Archie comics every year for my birthday and Christmas. So I'd always get Archie comics a year from my like great grandma.
Okay.
And I was obsessed with Archie comics. I started drawing the characters. So that was just always a segue. Then I was just always creative as a kid. And come into middle school where I learned that there's like a psychological side of a creative kid as a sort of incoming to teenage years or preteen years where you start to like self-doubt and self-reflect too much to where a lot of kids get out of art because they feel that they are not good enough. There's some kids that move past it, and then there's some kids who just drop out. I was the dropout of art kid. Didn't think I was good enough.
Sure.
Fast forward to junior year of high school, we had to have 2 art classes for graduation. I was like, okay, let me get my art out of the way. Freaking fell back in love with it. I was like, shoot, again. And I didn't fall back in love with drawing or anything like that, but I fell in love with ceramics. And that segued into like, okay, am I gonna go to college for art? Like,
is this happening?
Hell am I gonna do? Now, like, I had no idea what I wanted to do beforehand. Like, not a single clue. But I was always into like psychology and detective stuff. So I was like, oh my gosh, can I be like a detective? so far off perspective, so far off. But I was like the only artist in my family. Like I have some family with like talent, but they never went to school for it. And so I was like, maybe I can go to school for this. I wasn't fully sure, so I did a year at community college near my hometown, and I did some art gen eds and some just basic gen eds. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'm into interior design. I did interior design, so I looked into interior design for a little bit and found that nowhere really around here does interior design besides Madison.
Sure.
No way in hell was I getting into Madison.
Ditto. Ditto.
Coming from out of state was not going to pay that.
Sure.
The out of state cost was insane. And I was like,
that.
I can't even get it. So whatever. Then I was looking for schools that had more of a like dedicated art program. And we have the Peck School.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, the only schools really around my house that I could still stay close to home because I was way too scared to freaking leave.
Sure.
Was UW Milwaukee. And then I was like, okay, what can I get the best career from? Branding and graphic design. So I was like, you know what? We're going to go with what can make me the best career.
Yeah, it's like that middle ground.
Yep. And I was like, I can't make ceramics for like a lifetime and like try to make money off of that.
It'd be sweet if you could.
It'd be great if I could. I would change that now. But in going through the DVC program, fell in love with like all branding and typography and stuff like that.
Sure.
Learned that type was even an art.
Totally.
My sophomore year self hated type. I was like, stupid. I don't get it. After a few classes, I started to get it and like it. So now I think the program just made me like fall in love with it. And now I'm just like, oh, it all worked out.
Yeah, no, and once you start looking at type for what it is, especially when you get into those really elegant typefaces that are like nobody writes in a typeface. Like once you separate the writing side of it from like making text that's visually appealing and beautiful, like my handwriting is atrocious, but if I put the work in, I could make some nice type, like, and I can write nice, but it's not the same thing. Yeah. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, my handwriting is awful. Like, there's no way that I could be good at making typefaces or anything. So it's a completely different thing.
It's like, yeah, my note-taking handwriting. I'm not gonna put my handwriting in my portfolio.
Yeah.
But it's also the idea. There are some amazing people out there that like make typefaces, and you can also use that. It's just like there's also the mix between typefaces. Like there's just a whole like different realm that you can just like keep going deeper. But it's also fun to like learn how to hand do it yourself. That's also a learning thing that I'm like trying to get on, because I'm like, okay, what's mine? Like everyone has their own little type, like handwritten type that they like to do. Like very normal type designers. Like we're getting Whitney Anderson next week, and I'm so freaking excited for that because I adore her. And she has her own style, and it's like, okay, how long do you find your own style? And then that's just a big like searching right now, especially within the research, is like, what's my style of handwriting type?
For sure. And a lot of it is just, playing with what you know and learning new things on top of it and seeing how you can get those two things to mix together and putting your own flair on it. I mean, it's the same thing. I've been, I could draw a parallel with music. I've been making music for a while, and I try to, I don't think that I sound like anybody because I'm not trying to sound like anybody, and that's a good thing. But I draw inspiration from people for sure. So like I can hear it, but like I don't think anybody else would be like, oh, like you sound just like this person. So, but that has happened after a long time of just futzing with it, just poking it in different ways and trying to do different things, writing. And everything. So it all comes with time, and I think it's cool to be able to have something to identify yourself with that isn't just like, "Hi, I'm Decker." Like that's how I can identify myself, is through my music, and you will be able to identify yourself through your type, and just whatever you do with it, your whole that whole side of it, your whole artistical or creative side, I should say, will be something that you'll be able to identify yourself with. And I think that's like a super important thing in the lab in itself, is to be able to identify with your research. So
Yeah, and I think the lab also just is going to help me in a way because I see myself sticking here till I graduate, which is in December.
sure.
Um, I see myself like trying to find my own style through the research in the lab.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think will like just with that time and like I mean I'm just starting to finally be like me like I'm like in type, well not finally I guess, but I'm just like oh maybe like with this manifesto that I've been doing it's like pushing more out of me of like
Mm-hmm.
handwriting my own. But now I'm like okay well with this it'll take time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just also impatient. I don't.
Yeah, well,
I'm.
it sucks to hurry up and wait, especially given the circumstances of how everything has been recently.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely understand that, and you just want it to happen now. You just want like, hey, here's my typeface. Like that's that's what you want. Like, and it's perfect and it's wonderful and everybody likes it. And I'm the same way. Like I wish my music was the best it could possibly be, but it's not, because I don't have all the tools in my arsenal for that to happen, and I don't have all the time to do that, and I have a job and I'm going to school, and there's just stuff that gets in the way. And the same thing happens for people in the lab.
Yeah.
Same thing's happening for you. Same thing is happening for all of the other creative agents as well. We just have to take it a step at a time and stick with it, and that's what's the most important thing. Is like don't get down. Don't get down on yourself. Just run it out,
Yeah.
because you're gonna do some really cool stuff with this, and I'm excited to see what you do with this. So
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, look at that.
It's just a learning lesson.
Say that again.
Oh, I was like, it's just a learning lesson that I need to like remind myself that it's like, just slow the fuck down, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
For sure.
Fine.
For sure. For sure. Absolutely. And we're just like Chris would say, we're just all trying to survive on this big blue zoo, and it's really all it is. We're just trying to take, like, nobody knows what the hell's going on. I don't know what the hell's going on, and so we just got to take it a step at a time. And we're entering into an era where what we're working on and what people in the IML are focusing on is stuff that's gonna be big. Like that's the direction that media is heading, I think. So what you're doing is as scary as it could potentially be with the whole contact lenses and everything.
Contacts.
Yeah, I think you're headed in the right direction, and I'm super interested in what you got going on with the typefaces and everything, and the interaction that could potentially be present between that and the AR side of everything. So I think it's really cool, and I'm excited to see what you come up with. And I know that since I know I'm graduating in May coming up here, but I'm gonna try to figure out how I can continue to be a part of the lab, because it's gonna be like, okay, if I'm only here for a semester and I'm talking to people and they have all this research, like I want to see how it pans out, So I'll figure out a way to continue. But yeah, Lexi, thanks again for coming on. I know it's spring break. I know it's just weird timing, but I appreciate you coming on and talking about your research and just having a conversation with me about what's going on in the lab and everything. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, glad to be here. I hope to have to look back on this and just get a good laugh out of it.
I think we will. I had fun, and I'm looking forward to watch. I do watch them obviously when I edit and everything, and once they're finished. So it's always fun looking back, and I think this will be a good one to look back on. So. Thanks again, Lexi. Everybody watching, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. And yeah, we will see you guys next time. All right, take care.